The dark side of self-awareness no one talks about. The moment you truly become self-aware, life doesn't get brighter. It gets sharper, quieter, heavier. At first, self-awareness feels like a superpower. You notice patterns others miss. You understand your emotions. You see through manipulation. You feel awake while everyone else feels asleep. But no one tells you what happens after that phase ends. Because once the excitement fades, something darker begins. You start seeing yourself too clearly. Not the version you tell people about. Not the version you post online. The real one. And that's where the problem starts. Let me tell you a short story. There was a man who spent years working on himself. Reading books. Reflecting. Fixing habits. Watching his thoughts. Understanding his trauma. One day, he realized something terrifying. He couldn't lie to himself anymore. Every excuse sounded fake. Every justification fell hollow. Every time he failed, there was no one left to blame. Not his past. Not his parents. Not society. Not bad luck. Just him. That's the part no one warns you about. Self-awareness removes your hiding places. When you're unaware, ignorance protects you. You can say, "That's just how I am." You can blame circumstances. You can stay comfortable in confusion. But once you see yourself clearly, comfort disappears. You notice your own hypocrisy. You see how often you say one thing and do another. You realize how many of your opinions are just emotional defenses. You catch yourself craving validation while pretending you don't care. And worst of all, you can't unsee it. Self-awareness doesn't just show you your strengths. It forces you to sit with your flaws without distraction. That's why highly self-aware people often feel exhausted. Not physically, mentally, because your mind never stops observing itself. Every thought is questioned. Every emotion is analyzed. Every reaction is dissected. You don't just feel anger. You notice why you feel it. You don't just feel sadness. You trace it back to its root. You don't just feel happiness. You wonder how long it will last and why it appeared. At some point, even joy feels fragile. Another dark side no one talks about is isolation. The more self-aware you become, the harder it is to relate to people. Small talk feels empty. Surface-level conversations feel draining. You notice when people are projecting. You notice when they're lying to themselves. You notice patterns in their behavior that they don't see, and you can't unnotice it. So you start pulling back, not because you hate people, but because being around unconscious behavior feels loud. You feel like you're living on a different frequency. And then comes the guilt, because you start asking yourself, am I becoming arrogant? Am I judging people? Am I distancing myself too much? Self-awareness turns inward again. Even your growth becomes something you question. There's also the weight of responsibility. When you know better, you're expected to do better. And that pressure never leaves. You can't say, "I didn't know." You can't pretend you weren't aware. You can't escape accountability. Every bad decision hurts more because you saw it coming. Every mistake feels heavier because you warned yourself. Every failure feels personal, and that creates a quiet kind of suffering. A suffering where you're both the problem and the observer of the problem. There's another side people don't mention. Self-awareness can make you painfully patient. You see how long real change takes. You understand human nature too well to rush things. You know healing isn't linear. You know growth is slow. So while others chase quick wins, you wait. While others jump into chaos, you pause. While others react, you reflect. And sometimes that patience feels like stagnation. You wonder if you're evolving, or just standing still while life passes by. You also become deeply aware of time. You feel it moving. You feel moments slipping. You feel opportunities closing. You feel the cost of wasted years. Ignorance lets people feel young forever. Self-awareness reminds you that time is limited. And that awareness can be terrifying. But here's the truth that rarely gets said. The darkness of self-awareness isn't a flaw. It's a phase. A necessary one, because self-awareness isn't meant to trap you in analysis. It's meant to free you from illusion. The pain you feel isn't because you're broken. It's because you're honest. You're seeing reality without filters. You're standing in truth without anesthesia. And yes, that hurts, but it also gives you something rare. Choice. Once you see yourself clearly, you can change deliberately. Not reactively, not emotionally, not blindly. You can choose your habits, choose your boundaries, choose your values, choose the kind of person you become. The darkness teaches discernment. It teaches humility. It teaches compassion for yourself and others. Because once you see your own flaws clearly, you stop demonizing people for theirs. You realize everyone is fighting something. Everyone is avoiding something. Everyone is pretending in some way. And that realization softens you. Self-awareness doesn't make life easier. It makes it real. And if you're in that uncomfortable phase right now, if you feel isolated, heavy, overthinking, or misunderstood, you're not broken. You're not lost. You're not going backward. You're shedding illusions. And that process is always lonely. But it's also the doorway to a life that's chosen consciously instead of lived accidentally. If this resonated with you even a little, don't ignore it. Engage with it. Sit with it. Let it work on you. And if you know someone who's silently going through this phase, share this with them. Sometimes people don't need advice. They just need to know they're not alone. Stay aware, but don't forget to live.